Every day, over 1 billion Indians wake up and push through life with grit, but for most of them, the system just never gave them a real chance. The world is so quick to show off the highlights, the glossy towers of Mumbai, Bengaluru's tech parks, or a rocket launch from ISRO breaking through the clouds. But those are just snapshots to make the country look great. They don't represent the day-to-day lives of the majority. Behind all that illusion is a raw, uncomfortable truth. India's so-called rise has been unequal, shallow, and for many people, completely invisible. In rural Bihar, kids still study under trees because their schools have no roof. In the outskirts of Delhi, entire families live in makeshift homes with no running water, just a plastic tarp for shelter. This is a huge systemic failure, not just poverty that has been normalized through nationalism and forgotten by the global elite. Please take a moment to drop a like to the video and subscribe for more content. Health tells a painful part of the story. In 2025, the average Indian still dies almost 9 years earlier than someone in China. That's nearly a decade. Wiped out not because of war or disaster, but because of bad governance, underfunded hospitals, and chronic neglect. In Uttar Pradesh, if a woman goes into labor at night, her family often has to find their own vehicle because the ambulance either never arrives or doesn't exist. India's maternal mortality rate is 4 times higher than China's, a fact nobody talks about on Republic TV or NDTV debates. Dengue and malaria still kill thousands every year. And even when medicines exist, poor Indians often can't afford them or are given counterfeit drugs at roadside clinics. Meanwhile, countries like Thailand and Malaysia have built low-cost, universal healthcare systems that actually reach their citizens, not just the elite. Education-wise, India proudly points to its IITs and IIMs, and sure, they might be considered world-class, but they serve the few, not the many. For every student who enters IIT, there are hundreds of thousands who can't even finish secondary school. The national literacy rate hovers around 74%, while China stands tall at 97%. That gap is more than numbers. It's generations of lost potential. If you're a girl from a tribal area or a Dalit child in Uttar Pradesh, your chances of dropping out before age 14 are staggeringly high. Caste adds another weight. Dalit students are often bullied or segregated even inside schools. In contrast, China built its literacy rate through aggressive nationwide campaigns, door-to-door if needed. Vietnam invested heavily in primary education, raising an entire literate generation in under 2 decades. India still can't guarantee functioning toilets or enough teachers. And then there are the children who never even get to see a classroom. In India, as many as 8 million children are trapped in child labor, working in brick kilns, roadside eateries, construction sites, and worse. Some are trafficked across state lines, forced into begging rackets, or even domestic slavery. That's not even the worst part. Even when these children are rescued, 70% of them end up back in labor again because their families are too poor and the system too broken to support them. These are stolen futures from children, erased before they even began. While politicians talk about India's demographic dividend, these children are out there working in silence, invisible to the narrative. But education today is not just about books and classrooms, but it's also about digital access. And here, India falls very hard. In 2025, nearly 650 million Indians are still offline, while China, Thailand, and Vietnam have achieved near-universal internet coverage. Entire rural regions of India remain digitally disconnected. Students couldn't attend online classes during COVID. Farmers can't access market data. Citizens can't apply for basic services without traveling to a nearby city. Unfortunately, that's not just a digital divide, that's a digital dead end. While the government promotes apps and platforms, the infrastructure to support it simply isn't there. You can't build a modern nation if half the population is locked out of the internet. Now ask yourself, how do you build a modern country when nearly half your labor force is stuck in low-productivity agriculture? That's India's reality. People aren't choosing farming. They're stuck there because the industrial and manufacturing sectors never opened their doors wide enough. Make in India was supposed to be the game changer, remember? But it's been a decade, and India's share of manufacturing has barely nudged forward, still hovering under 12% of GDP, far behind China's 27% or Vietnam's 25%. Foxconn pulled out of its $19 billion project. Tesla quietly postponed its plans. Global companies aren't buying the false hype anymore. Meanwhile, Countries like China built entire megacities on the back of blue-collar jobs, jobs with pay, dignity, and purpose. Quality of life is where the comparisons hurt the most. In China, even far-flung rural areas now have paved roads, public internet, and concrete homes. Whole villages have been relocated from landslide zones to safer modern housing complexes. But what about India? Villagers in Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh still walk kilometers just to charge their phones at diesel-run shops. The slums of Kolkata and Mumbai aren't getting smaller. They're swelling, and many of them have existed unchanged for over 30 years. Infrastructure collapses with every monsoon. In 2023 alone, over 1,500 people died from flooding-related disasters across India. That is a pretty shocking number for a country with the tech and money to build better systems. Why do Thailand's canals and Vietnam's water drainage systems work, while India's drown its poorest? Sanitation is another national tragedy we pretend is solved. Yes, Swachh Bharat built millions of toilets, but open defecation is still practiced by nearly one-third of rural India. Many households have toilets, but no water connection or safe drainage, turning them into mosquito nests and just poor sanitation. It's not just about dignity, it's a direct link to child mortality, stunted growth, and disease. And it costs India an estimated $50+ billion a year in health losses and productivity decline. Compare that to Thailand, where 99% of the population has access to safe sanitation. Vietnam, too, is closing the gap quickly. Then comes the question of women. India sells itself as a country that respects women while simultaneously denying them safety, income, and respect. Women in rural India still cook with firewood and fetch water from miles away. Two jobs that steal hours of their lives every single day. In urban areas, they are underpaid, underrepresented, and overworked. Female labor participation has dropped to one of the lowest in the world. Compare that to China, where women hold nearly 44% of the workforce. In Indonesia and the Philippines, women dominate whole industries. In India, women are told to stay safe by staying silent. But perhaps the most ignored part of the Indian story is the mental toll this has all taken. A country that pushes its people so hard for so little reward inevitably breaks their spirit. Suicide rates in India are among the highest in the world. Farmers trapped in debt, students burned out by an education system built to fail them, workers ground into dust by inflation and joblessness. These are not signs of an emerging superpower. These are warning signs of a society fraying under pressure. And while Bollywood sells fantasy and politicians preach pride, India's citizens quietly carry the burden of pretending everything is fine. India also has something no other country can replicate: its youth. With a median age of just 28.8, India has the youngest population among major economies. But that advantage is slipping away fast. Nearly half of them don't have digital access. Most don't get quality education. Job creation hasn't kept pace with the tsunami of graduates and school leavers. Let's compare that to China, where vocational programs prepare students for real jobs, or Vietnam, where technical colleges work hand-in-hand with global factories. India has youth, but it's wasting their time, their energy, and their future. It doesn't have to be this way. The rest of Asia proves that real transformation is possible. China lifted 800 million people out of poverty in less than 40 years. Vietnam went from a war-ravaged state to one of the fastest-growing economies on Earth, with rising wages and access to quality healthcare. Thailand built a tourism and medical infrastructure that serves both locals and foreigners. Even inside India, the state of Kerala shows what focused policy, education, and health can achieve. High literacy, high life expectancy, low infant mortality. The blueprint is all there. They just need to stop ignoring it. Because here's the simple truth: a real rise is felt by the people, not just seen in GDP graphs. It's when a grandmother doesn't die waiting for insulin. It's when a father doesn't have to bribe a school to admit his daughter. It's when a street vendor doesn't lose his stall because of some flashy new development project. It's when the people stop surviving and start living. That's the future India deserves. But to get there, the country needs to stop patting itself on the back for a job half done and start listening to its people. Until that happens, don't be fooled by the headlines or the hype. Because behind the tricolor, there's a silence growing. A silence made of the hopes, pain, and resilience of 1 billion people still waiting for their real moment to come. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more future content.